Hello everyone. So we are going to discuss about enzymatic catalysis. So as we know, enzymes are made up of with proteins. So as we know that proteins are the polymers of amino acids. So as these enzymes also like proteins, so automatically these enzymes are having a, complex structure because there are n number of amino acids which are attached with amide bonds or peptide bonds. So those are nothing but proteins. So means proteins are the polymers of amino acids. So all the amino acids which are bonded with amide, that is NH double bond O or C double bond O NH amide or peptide bond. So in this enzymatic catalysis process, so we are going to discuss about what are enzymes, so how the enzymes are acting as a biological catalyst, and what are the factors which affect the catalytic property of enzymes, right. So here enzymes are consisting of large number of amino acids because these are nothing but proteins. So automatically enzymes are having high molecular mass. Most of the enzymes are acting as a biological catalyst. So we know what is meant by biological catalyst. It means the enzymes are acting catalyst in so many biological processes which are happening in our human body, right. So first of all we would like to know what is catalyst. So catalyst is a substance or a compound or a molecule which alters the reaction, means which increase or decrease the rate of reaction by involving in the reaction and doesn't undergo any final change, is called as a catalyst. So here the compound which increase or which decrease the rate of reaction and which doesn't undergo any final change is called as catalyst. So catalysts are different types like metal catalyst, non-metal catalyst, gaseous catalyst, and enzyme catalysts, so, right. So here, so these substances will increase the rate of reaction. So majorly we use the catalyst to increase the rate of reaction, right. So how the catalyst increases the rate of reaction, right. So in generally the catalyst, what catalyst do is by reducing the activation energy, the catalyst increase the rate of reaction. So if you observe here this is the energy, this is a reaction coordinate. So this is the reaction process which is happening, right. So without catalyst the activation energy is high, right, and with catalyst the activation energy is decreased, right. So by using the catalyst, so as the activation energy is decreases, automatically the rate of reaction increases. So we know what is activation energy. So activation energy is the difference between the threshold energy, this, and the average energy of reactants, okay. So this is activation energy, and the catalyst, especially the catalyst by decreasing the activation energy, so they are increasing the rate of reaction. So similarly here also the enzyme catalysis process also, enzymes are acting as catalyst by decreasing the activation energy. So when compared with metal and non-metal catalyst, so these enzymes will decrease the activation energy is more, means the decrease in activation energy is more when we use enzymes or catalyst. So automatically the rate of reaction would be very high. So in the case of enzyme catalyst, right. Here catalysis is two process. So one is homogeneous catalysis and heterogeneous catalysis. What is homogeneous catalysis? So homogeneous catalysis means both the catalyst and reactants are in same phase. So whether reactants and catalyst both are in same phase, whether it may be gaseous phase or whether it may be liquid phase or whether it may be solid phase, right. So both reactants as well as a catalyst are in same phase. See for example, if you observe a example here, SO2 plus O2. So in the preparation of NO3, sorry SO3. So NO is a gas which is acting as a catalyst. So here both SO2 and O2, that reactants are gaseous state, and here catalyst NO is also in gaseous state. So this is one example for homogeneous catalysis. Next is sucrose, that is C12H22O11, hydrolysis of sucrose. Sucrose in liquid state and water is in liquid state, and catalyst is H plus is also in liquid state. So this would be converted into glucose and fructose. So hydrolysis of sucrose which is happening in the liquid phase, so automatically it is also example for homogeneous catalysis. Next is hydrolysis of esters. Hydrolysis of esters, that is CH3 COOET, which is in liquid phase, water in the presence of H plus, and that it converted into acetic acid and ethyl alcohol. So this example is also one of the example for homogeneous catalysis. So here both reactants as well as the catalyst are in same phase. This is homogeneous catalysis. The next one is heterogeneous catalysis. In this, heterogeneous means different phases, right? So both catalyst as well as reactants are in different phase. Here observe the example of Haber process. So in the preparation of ammonia, Haber process is used. Here nitrogen, that is N2, which is in gaseous state, is reacting with hydrogen, that is also in gaseous state, in the presence of iron and molybdenum. So these two are acting as catalyst, and which forms ammonia. So in this process, so here both reactants that is nitrogen and hydrogen are in gaseous state, and catalyst in solid phase. So automatically this is a heterogeneous catalysis process. So in the second example, that is hydrogenation of alkenes. So ethylene, that is CH2 double bond CH2 plus hydrogen in the presence of nickel, giving ethane. So this in this example, here ethylene is gaseous state and hydrogen is also in gaseous state. So now here the nickel, that is acting as catalyst, is in solid phase. So this here also reactants are in gaseous phase and catalyst is in solid phase. Automatically it is a heterogeneous catalysis. And another example, that is contact process of preparation of sulfur trioxide, that is SO3. In this process, that is SO2 plus oxygen in the presence of V2O5, it is giving SO3. So here in this process, that sulfur dioxide and oxygen are in gaseous state and catalyst is in solid phase. So it is also a example for heterogeneous catalysis. So in this, catalyst and reactants are in different phase. Now we will be discussing about enzymatic catalysis. So here enzymatic catalysis is a heterogeneous catalysis process, because reactants are in different phases, so that are converted into products by using enzyme catalyst. So automatically enzyme catalyst is a heterogeneous catalysis process. So for example, in sucrose hydrolysis, so sucrose, that is C12H22O11 plus water, that will give glucose and fructose in the presence of invertase enzyme. So invertase enzyme is converting sucrose to glucose and fructose. So this is one example, and zymase is converting glucose to ethyl alcohol and carbon dioxide. So this is the fermentation process of conversion of glucose to ethyl alcohol. This is the preparation of alcohol. So here zymase is an enzyme, it is acting as a catalyst, and here urea, that is NH2 C double bond O NH2, is converted into ammonia and carbon dioxide. So this process can be done through the urease enzyme. So by using urease enzyme, urea is converted into ammonia and carbon dioxide. So these are the examples of enzymatic catalysis reactions. So invertase converts sucrose to glucose and fructose. So zymase is converting glucose to ethyl alcohol. Urease converts urea to ammonia and carbon dioxide. So these are some of the examples of enzymatic catalysis reactions. So as we know, enzymes are made up of with proteins, nothing but polymers of amino acids. As we know, different kind of amino acids. So in the amino acids there are large number of different kind of functional groups are present. So as these free functional groups are acting as active centers, so at that active centers the substrate reactant molecules are binded, so that after binding to the enzyme, so the reactants are converted into products, and then product will leave the enzyme. So observe here, so most of the enzymes are all the enzymes are having active centers. So these active centers are like free NH2 groups, free COO minus groups, or free COOH, SH, OH, O minus, COO minus, NH3 plus. Like this, whatever the groups which are available in the amino acids are acting as active centers on the enzyme. So to this active centers, substrates, that is nothing but reactants, are binding, so that it forms a enzyme substrate complexes. So that binding interaction would be maybe ionic bond, means the bonds between enzyme and substrate may be ionic bonds or electrostatic interactions, or it may be hydrogen bond, or it may be van der Waals forces. So through this different kind of interactions, the substrate is binding at active centers of enzyme. So initially enzyme and substrate are there, and these two are binded with different kind of interactions, so that enzyme substrate complex is formed. So whatever the substrate, that is nothing but a reactant which is binded to the enzyme, will form a product, and then this will form enzyme product complex, and after that the product leaves the enzyme, so that you will get a free enzyme. Again this free enzyme will be further reacted with substrate, so that enzyme substrate complex would be formed. So this is the process of enzymatic catalysis process. So here initially substrate is forming enzyme substrate complex. So whatever the substrate which is binded to the enzyme will form a product, and that forms enzyme product complex, and as the product is formed, immediately the product leaves the enzyme, so that free enzyme will be available, right. So this is the process. In this process, the substrate, nothing but reactant molecules, are binding to the enzyme at different kind of active centers. So these active centers are in a different structure. So based on the structure, the substrate will be binded to the enzyme. So here there are two mechanisms are there to explain the enzymatic catalysis process. So one is lock and key method, and second one is induced fit method. The first one we are going to discuss is lock and key method. So here the name itself it is telling lock and key. So as we know, every lock is having specific structure for the fitment of its key, right. So here also what is happening, so the enzyme, here the enzyme is having one active center which is similar structure where it can accept a substrate, means the active center of enzyme is having similar structure of substrate. So like this is a lock and this is a key. So now what will happen, so this substrate will approach the enzyme and forms enzyme substrate complex, so that this substrate can be fitted into the active center of enzyme. So then it will give enzyme substrate complex, like this is lock and key. So enzyme substrate complex is formed. Now what will happen, whatever the substrate which is binded to the enzyme will react each other, and which undergo for reaction and forms enzyme product complex. So product is formed, right. This is enzyme enzyme and product complex. Whenever the product is formed, immediately the product leaves the enzyme, so that you will get the free enzyme here. Now so this free availability of enzyme would be there, so automatically then it will again involve in the reaction. So right, so this is the process which is called lock and key process or lock and key method. So in this process, the enzyme is having a active center which is having a similar structure to the substrate, then that substrate is fitted to the enzyme active center, so that it gives enzyme substrate complex, then automatically it forms enzyme product complex, then product immediately leaves the enzyme, so then it is forming free enzyme and a product. So this method is called lock and key method. The second method is induced fit method. So here induced fit method is different from lock and key method. So here enzyme is having a active center with a different structure. So because we cannot predict, we may not be knowing, okay, enzyme may have different kind of active centers, that structures of active centers would be different from the substrate structure, right. So enzyme is having certain active center which is having a one type of structure, and substrate is having another kind of structure, okay. So here what will happen, because of the presence of substrate, as the substrate is approaching to the enzyme, now what will happen, the substrate induces the enzyme which can converts that active center structure to the similar structure of substrate, so that substrate can be fitted into that active center, right. So because of the induction of substrate, so the active center site is changed to the similar structure of substrate, so that substrate is fitted to the enzyme, then enzyme substrate complex is formed, so then automatically it converts it into enzyme product complex, then product leave the enzyme and free enzyme will be available. So this is what is called induced fit method, because of the as substrate is induces the enzyme, so the enzyme active centers will be converted to the similar structure of substrate. So this is induced fit method. This is method is a most favorable process, because enzymes active center structures are always different from the structure of substrate. So this is a induced fit method. Next is characteristics of enzymes, enzyme catalysis, right. So the first one is enzymes are effective catalyst, okay. So these are highly effective catalysts, because enzyme, by using enzyme we can increase the rate of reaction by 10 to the power of 6 to 10 to the power of 20 times, means the rate would be increased a large number. But in the case of normal catalyst like metal catalyst, we can increase the rate up to 2 times, 10 times, maximum of 20-30 times, but we cannot increase the rate this much of times, right. So that's why enzymes are highly effective catalyst which can increase the rate of reaction about to 10 to the power of 6 to 10 to the power of 20 times, right. Enzymes are highly specificity of enzymes, because one enzyme can act as a catalyst in one particular reaction only, in no other reaction this enzyme acts as catalyst. So that's why enzymes are highly specific in nature. For example, if you observe urease enzyme, so urease enzyme is acting as catalyst in the case of hydrolysis of urea only. But if you take methyl urea, in the hydrolysis of methyl urea, urease cannot act as a catalyst, because urease is very specific. So urease can act as a catalyst in the hydrolysis of urea only. So in no other reaction, in the case of methyl urea or ethyl urea, hydrolysis process, urease cannot act as a catalyst. So that's what is the specificity of enzymes. The next one is factors affecting the enzyme catalysis. The first one is effect of temperature. So as we know, right, so in generally, so as the temperature increases, the rate of reaction increases, right. So in generally, in the case of enzyme catalysis also, as the temperature increases, so the rate of reaction increases up to a certain limit, then the rate of reaction would be decreases. So because, so when we increase the temperature, some changes occurring in the enzymes, because enzymes are made up of with proteins. So proteins are highly sensitive to the temperature. If the temperature increases, the denaturation process takes place in the enzymes, nothing but proteins, right. So what happened here, as the denaturation process takes place, so enzymes may not be active that much, so automatically the rate of reaction decreases. So if you observe here, right, so this is rate of reaction and this is temperature. Okay, so here temperature, right. So here as the temperature increases, the rate of reaction increases up to a certain limit, a maximum, and then it is decreasing, right. So here in between the 30 to 50 degree centigrade temperature, 30 to 40 degree centigrade temperature, the rate increases is more. So here observe 30 to 40 degree centigrade temperature, the rate is more, right. So that's why the optimum temperature range is 30 to 40 degree centigrade, and at 37 degree centigrade the rate is maximum, the rate is very high, the rate of enzymatic catalysis reaction is very high. So that is called optimum temperature. That is nothing but our body temperature. Means most of the enzymes are highly active and the rate of the enzymatic catalysis reaction is more at our body temperature, which is nothing but at 37 degree centigrade temperature. So that's why that is called optimum temperature. So means enzymes are most effective at optimum temperature. So this is what is the effect of temperature on enzyme catalysis. So initially, as the increasing of temperature, rate increases at 37 degree centigrade, it's getting maximum, and after that the rate of reaction decreases. So this 37 is optimum temperature. In between 30 and 40, as the rate is more, so the that is called optimum temperature range, right. Of course, some of the very few enzymes may be active less than 30 degree centigrade or more than 40 to 50 degree centigrade also, but those are very few. So this is what is the effect of temperature on enzymatic catalysis process. Next one is effective of pH, effect of pH. So here pH, whether it is acidic pH or basic pH. Acidic pH means pH is less than 7, that is nothing but 1, 2, 3, 4. pH is more than 7, that is basic pH, that is 7, 8, 9, 10, right. So enzymes are nothing but proteins. As the proteins part is there, automatically enzymes are highly sensitive to the pH change, because in the case of low pH, that is nothing but high acidity, or in the case of high pH, that is high basicity, at that pH values, so what is happening to the proteins? Proteins becomes undergo for denaturation, so that enzymes are inactive in position, so that the rate of enzymatic reactions would be very less, right. So that's why as the pH increasing, the rate of reaction increases. At pH 7 it is getting maximum, then after that it is decreasing, right. So this is the effect of pH on enzymatic catalysis rate of reaction. So in between the 7 to 6 to 8, the enzyme catalysis rate is more, so that's why the optimum pH range is 6 to 8. At pH 7, that is nothing but neutral pH, the enzyme catalysis rate is very high, so that is what is called optimum pH value. That is nothing but at neutral pH value, enzymes are highly active and the rate of enzymatic catalysis reaction is very high. So this is the effect of pH on enzymatic catalysis, right. Next is effect of enzyme concentration. So as we know, if concentration of enzyme increases, then automatically rate increases, because rate of reaction is directly proportional to the concentration of enzymes, right. So here what is happening, as the concentration of enzyme increases, automatically more active centers are available, because as the enzyme molecules are more, then automatically more substrate is binded to the enzyme, then the rate of reaction would be increases, right. So here enzyme substrate complex, that enzyme substrate complex is formed to enzyme product, and the product leaves the enzyme. So as the enzyme concentration increases, more active centers, so more substrate binding takes place, then automatically product would be very high in the less time. So rate automatically increases. This is what is rate is directly proportional to the concentration of enzymes. So this is the effect of enzyme concentration. The next one is effect of enzyme activators. So most of the enzymes, so in our human body are formed and are in inactive state. Okay, so the enzymes are there, but they may not be having the activity, or they are in inactive state. So some of the molecules, some of the ions, some of the compounds will make that inactive enzyme to active enzymes, make that inactive enzyme to active enzymes. So those complexes or the compounds are called as enzyme activators. So the compounds or ions or the molecules which converts inactive enzyme to active enzyme are called as enzyme activators. Some of the examples, that sodium ion, potassium ion, calcium plus 2, magnesium plus 2, manganese plus 2, iron plus 2, or these metal ions are acting as activators in the enzyme catalytic process. So here these compounds which activate the enzymes. So because of the presence of activators, so the enzyme catalysis rate would be increased. Just observe here, this is the rate and this is the reaction time. So in the case of inactive enzyme, the rate of reaction is very less. So when in the case of active enzyme, the rate of reaction is very high, right? So because of the presence of activators, the rate of reaction increases. So here increases the activity of enzymes, and automatically enzyme effectiveness is also increased, so that the rate of reaction would be increased. This is the effect of activators on enzyme catalysis. Next one is effect of coenzymes, right? So as we know, what are coenzymes? Coenzymes are also similar to the enzymes, so which will increase the activity of enzymes. Okay, see, coenzymes are directly not involving in the reaction. So here these coenzymes are involving in the reaction by increasing the activity of enzymes. So automatically the rate of reaction increases, right? So coenzymes are increasing the rate of reaction by the increasing the activity of enzymes. In generally the enzymes, the coenzymes are vitamins are acting as coenzymes in a majority of the biological reactions in our body, right? So because of the presence of coenzymes, the activity of enzymes increases, automatically the rate of reaction of enzymatic catalysis reaction is very high. Next one is enzyme inhibitors. See, some of the molecules or the compounds or the ions which may decrease or which may stop the activity of enzymes. So in that process, so what will happen? Inhibition takes place, means enzyme may become inactive or maybe less active. Okay, so abolishing or the decreasing the activity of enzymes is called as enzyme inhibition. So the compounds or the complexes or the ions which are decreasing or the abolishing the activity of enzymes are called as enzyme inhibitors. So because of the presence of inhibitors, the rate of reaction would be decreased, or it may be very less. So here what is happening here? So in the presence of inhibitor, this is enzyme, substrate and inhibitor. So now what will happen? So in generally the substrate is binded to the enzyme so that it will form a product, but because of the presence of inhibitor, this inhibitor bind to the enzyme, so then there is no active center for substrate. So substrate binding may not takes place, hence the reaction may not occur. So this is what is the effect of inhibitor. So the observe here, this is enzyme is acting, having a active center, this is substrate and this is inhibitor. So in the place of substrate, the inhibitor is binding to the enzyme, so that enzyme inhibitor complex is formed, so that there is no active center for the substrate, hence substrate may not bind to the enzyme, so then it may not be converted to product. Automatically the rate of reaction would be 0 or very less. So this is the effect of inhibitors on enzymes. So enzyme inhibition is in two process. One is reversible inhibition and irreversible inhibition. So this is what is enzyme catalysis process. So in this chapter we have discussed about what are enzymes, what is catalyst, and what is the process of catalyst, homogeneous catalysis and heterogeneous catalysis. Next is enzyme catalysis, some of the examples for enzyme catalysis, and what are the characteristics of enzyme catalysis, effectiveness and specificity. After that factors affecting enzyme catalysis process, temperature effect on enzyme catalysis reaction, pH effect, coenzymes effect, activators effect, and concentration of enzyme, and then enzyme inhibitors. Thank you.